afternoon. Today we have a fun, informational speaker for you. You might have noticed a little goodie on your table. Those are for you to keep. Just leave the coupon behind and I'll collect all those later. I still eat at White Castle somewhat regularly, much to my wife's chagrin. Brian Walkerly is the Director of Real Estate and Business Development for White Castle. He's responsible for leading the team in securing new site acquisitions, dispositions, and new business development, including joint venture partnerships on company-owned real estate. Prior to that, he was a mall manager for the Richard E. Jacobs Group and graduated from Bowling Green State University with a BA in Communications. Brian played an essential role in what turned out to be the largest grand opening of a restaurant for White Castle ever when they recently opened. It was the hottest seat to be on in an action-packed day, and rumor has it he did so masterfully at this that White Castle is now blocking all incoming calls from amusement parks in Florida for fear they're going to try and steal him away. So help me welcome Brian Walkerly to Columbus Rotary.
That was quite an introduction. So, yes, it was. Actually, at one point, it was a 1 mile long line in our drive-through stack. Wow. So I did not get a lot of sleep the night before, and it was quite an experience. So yeah, it's still going, still steaming, and we're really excited about it. So. When Mike reached out to me and Lisa Ingram, our president and CEO, about doing this presentation with regards to a lot of our projects that we've been doing, he originally asked Lisa, and she said, "I've got the perfect guy to do this." So, and it is my pleasure to share with this. A lot of these projects I've been working on for the last, I'd say 9 years, and it takes a lot to do these types of developments. And this was definitely not my training at Bowling Green. I've been at White Castle for 22 years, mainly doing restaurant work. And but as everybody knows around Columbus, there's a lot of things have changed in a lot of these markets I'm going to share with you. And so we saw that opportunity as a way to unlock the value that was in the real estate. So yes, our castles are great. They hold some pretty nice real estate like we had on the Second and High. But as you saw, we'll see in some of the pictures that we had, we really wanted to unlock that value for long-term revenue to best utilize the space. So let's go ahead and get started. So there it goes. All right, that's me, Brian Walkerly, Director of Real Estate. Let's go. So some of you, I'm assuming everybody knows a little bit about White Castle. We are now 101 years young. Just a few years behind the Columbus Rotary, as I noticed. We have over 350 restaurants around the U.S. We're vertically integrated, so we actually make our own meat patties and buns for our restaurants. That not only supplies our restaurants, but also our frozen food division. So one of the, as I said before, we've been successfully pursuing strategic redevelopment goals across the country. Mainly right now, those opportunities have presented themselves in Columbus. We are looking at an opportunity in Indianapolis that's in development. I'll show you a couple pictures there, as well as some of our stuff on the East Coast. Really what we're doing is adapting to changing market conditions, and as I said earlier, unlocking the underlying real estate value and opportunity. So the first project I'll talk about was Second and High. It's an old aerial that I stole from the auditor. As you can see, we had a nice corner location, weird drive-through stack. Many people, including myself, when I'd visit friends at Ohio State after a football game, we would wander our way down High Street and find this. But really, as everything changed in the short north, people started to go vertical. And our friends at Borer reached out to us and said, "Hey, what would you think about doing something with this project?" And so we kind of started those discussions, and that led us to going into a joint venture with them. And one of the biggest pieces of that was including a drive-through for our castle. So with challenges of it, it was a tight site. Just to the north, as you see on that picture, is a parking lot. That was actually a city-owned parking lot. So we worked out an agreement with the city in a public-private partnership to incorporate that parking lot into our building, into our parking garage that we have there today, since parking in the short north is at a premium. And limited. So we have 102 units in here. We have 1,200 square foot of retail on the first floor, including the White Castle restaurant. And then we also have 12,000 square foot of office, which is actually Borer's corporate office for their residential property development. So here's a picture of our castle. Some of the coolest, I think the coolest apartment is the one on the top. It's got ginormous, like 11-foot ceilings, all glass, looking down High Street. So it's almost fully leased in this building, so you'll have to get in line if you want that one, if you're looking for a place to move. Really proud of the way this building turned out. Our parking garage is back to the back, and our drive-through actually circulates through the parking garage and comes out kind of right over there with one picture here. So here's a picture of the rooftop patio. Nice views overlooking east, west, and south. In case you wanted to do a little game of chess, you can go up there. We got barbecues up there, so our residents can take advantage of that. Here's a picture of one of our units within the building. Nice, really nice appointed amenities in all these buildings that I'll talk about. Probably the most in-depth master's degree program level experiences that I've ever had in my career is working on this project at our corporate office. We're super proud of the way this turned out. It was a JV partnership between us and Elford. We utilized the Design Services and Architectural Alliance. EP Ferris, I don't know if Ferris's group is involved in the Rotary or not, but I saw John Grubb on here. He was online earlier, and he was one of our lead designers on this project with Architectural Alliance. Really what we wanted to do, as this project happened, we had 20 acres of land. 2 of it was in the river. The Arena District came out of the ground, and the redevelopment of the Grandview Yard helped propel us and created a catalyst for us to do this, right? So we had an old manufacturing facility underneath our building. We had old Mad Men era offices, almost 80% office within our building. It just was not conducive to today's modern workforce. And one of our big goals was we wanted to be accredited as the best place to work. And so Lisa and the leadership team at White Castle said, we need to do something. And to do what that was build a new office. And so we went to our development partners and said, how can we best do this? And that started way back in late 2015 and really moved through the process as we went forward. So it's been a long, lengthy process, but we're super excited about it. We also had help from the city and the state. We needed help with some title issues. It used to be an urban slum, so we had title issues that we had to deal with. It used to be an old landfill, and there was a steel foundry underneath, so we had environmental problems. The Franklin main is 30 feet below. The Franklin sewer main is 30 feet below the west side of the project, so we had to deal with that. A lot of different things, hurdles and challenges, but as you'll see in the pictures, it really turned out spectacular. So here's a new picture of our building. This is actually looking to the northeast from our parking deck. That's along 670. We also, it shows a view of the Fives Event Center. We wanted to make sure that we had a space that we could, community and other events could be held on site rather than inside our building. So we worked with Together and Company to develop this, and that's been a long, they were going through the process the same as us. Here's another view, kind of looking east, southeast from a top floor of the apartments. So you see out front, we have an amphitheater out front. So we've had some events out there last year. You can again see the Fives. On the top floor of the Fives is there's nano walls, so it opens up. So if you wanted to have an event for like a wedding or a business meeting, then there's a rooftop patio that overlooks downtown. It's really spectacular. I had to get that pitch in there. We also have our own private rooftop patio, which is just a little bit to the right of the tower, as you can see. So again, we didn't want to make it look like a castle, but there are some hints to our brand. The actual tower feature has the crenulations like our typical White Castle logo sign. And if you looked at it from the air, it actually has the Pentagon logo of the White Castle. So a little fun fact for the sharing with the Rotary today, and I guess the world. Because it's online on YouTube. So anyway, here's a couple renderings of what we have inside. This is our library area. This is an area that we have our team members can go into, heads down, quiet work. No cell phones are allowed in there. You can't take any calls. Here's a look of our interior lobby of our first floor as you come into the castle. It's really open, so we went from like 80% office to none. So it was a big change in culture and shift in the way we worked when we designed this building. So, people were talking about, well, I have an office now, and then Lisa Ingram said, I'm not going to have an office. So that was pretty much ended the conversations with anybody. So when your president and CEO was bought in, everybody bought in. And it was great. People were a little nervous. In that old building, we had very limited windows, right? So you're taking a space that was essentially converted above an old warehouse and manufacturing facility, where the stainless steel presses where we were making our fixtures were pounding away on the floor below you. So, I mean, it was when my first day, as a quick story, is I walked all the way to my boss. I had always interviewed in these nice wooden mahogany cool offices. He walked me all the way to the back of the building in an office with no windows, right above a steel press, and I would be on the phone doing negotiations. You could hear the bang, bang, bang. It's like, good Lord, what did I get myself into? 22 years later, I'm still here. So anyway, here's a picture. This is our walkway, central corridor going upstairs, and we do have it's cool because we do have a timeline that tells a little bit of the history as you walk upstairs and going through there. So really neat. We didn't want to overwhelm the brand and history throughout the building, but we've just played little key notes as you go through the building. Here's what castle is not complete without its own throne. So our slider queen, Lisa Ingram, does do a lot of events. And this is one of the fun parts about most of our events. We had Jobs Ohio in last week, and they, of course, got their pictures taken on the throne. The scepter that's there, actually, this throne was made by a craftsman in Columbus. His name escapes me at the moment. But we actually, who would have thought that if you need a throne, that you can actually build it here in Columbus, Ohio? So our friends at M&A Architecture, they were the ones who did a lot of our interior design work. And as I said, Architectural Alliance was our architectural design partner for the building envelopes. So in the scepter itself, actually, it comes apart. And so when we opened our castle in Orlando, it was used to help christen the new opening. So it's a fun little fact. As you can see in the distance, I think I can safely say that we might be the only building in at least the Midwest that has its own slide. So that does not go from the third floor or fourth floor down. If it did, it would be we'd need a big time pillow on the end of it to protect people. But it goes from our second floor to our first floor. And that pays homage to our frozen food division. So as some of you may have had our frozen burgers, they actually, as they're cooked normally, as they go through, and then they're frozen, and as they go through the spiral freezer, when they're done, they slide down on a slide into packaging. So we wanted to pay homage to that part of our brand. So lots of little neat, unique things that are in our building. Here's a look at our cafe on the first floor. Back behind the walls are where it says what's steaming is back in our research and development kitchen, where we work on our new product developments for the castles as well as our frozen food division. So lots of open space. When we moved into our new building, everybody was given a laptop, and so that way you can work anywhere within the building, which has been key given COVID. Because had we not, everybody would have had desktops, and it would have been a significant change. And the one blessing that we did in our timing was that we were able to move into our building in October of 2019 in advance of the COVID pandemic. So we were actually more prepared than we probably would have been in the past. So it really made the transition to moving remote easy. So here's another look. This is looking out at our front door. This is the view of the amphitheater. The apartments in the distance. If you drove in this castle or the site today, this is what you'd see. The only thing you don't see is the retail building that's shown a little bit on the right-hand side of this photo. That is in development. So there will be something out there in that vacant lot if you drove by. That's just right now with COVID, everybody's still starting to come out of it. So we're going to do a restaurant. It will not be a White Castle because you can get White Castle in the cafe. So. Here's another view looking to the west. This is on the rooftop of the Fives. And the office building number 2 is 75% leased. We have the friends at the Superior Group that are in there today, as well as Ohio Reproductive. They're on the second floor, and we have the first floor is still vacant. So, but this is looking west. And you can see there's a little bit of an outcropping there that overlooks the river. And then we have a dog park out there as well for our residents and tenants. So here's a rendering of a dog park. So if you're looking for a place to exercise your dog after you purchase your, after you go, I'm actually interested in bidding on that. So yeah, so here's a look at the dog park. It does slope like that, so it may be small, but those dogs get a lot of exercise down there. So here's a look at some of the apartments. Really nice units. We have 246 units, first class amenities, pool, fitness center, clubhouse. It really is spectacular. So here's I'm going to talk now about our Fifth Avenue project. This is over near Fifth and Norton, Fifth and Delashment, right across the street from Portland Ironworks. So we have this is a regional office and warehouse. So as things changed in our distribution network, we've closed our Columbus regional office, moved those folks into our corporate office, and all of our distribution of our products comes out of our Cincinnati warehouse. So Indianapolis and Columbus all ship out of there. So what we want to do is unlock the real estate value that's on this project. So this is a joint venture with Elford, and it's going to be 196 apartments, 6,000 square foot of retail, and we have a 300 square foot or 300 space parking garage. So here's an aerial view of what we're looking at. We have one building that's on Fifth Avenue that fronts it, and then the courtyard in the back where the pool is. And then on the South Avenue side and south between Delashment and Norton, we have two apartment buildings on the end with the parking deck in between. And then what's really neat is we'll have actually a walking bridge to get to the north building from the parking garage that'll be covered, so in climate control, so our residents can go in and park their cars and then come into the building that way. So here's some renderings. I'm not sharing any secrets because these are already approved and out there. This is what was. There's a look at from basically. This is at the corner of Fifth and Delashment. So this is looking. This would be looking east, north, or east southeast. This is on the corner of Norton and South, and then you can see the pedestrian bridge in the distance. We have apartment buildings on the end, so rather than have an ugly parking garage, we bracketed it and tried to get more units. So it's kind of a fun way to do it. We'll have a little bit of commercial on this side for most likely it's going to be a light use commercial, meaning like insurance or small medical or perhaps a fitness. So there's that. Here's another view of the. This is actually on Fifth Avenue. This is right, basically if you're looking at it from Portland Ironworks. It's basically wood frame over a podium. So, and then last I'm going to talk about Indianapolis. So we didn't hold we weren't doing this just in Columbus. Again, I alluded to this earlier. It's a regional facility. We decided to close it down. We shifted our regional operations out into the field. And so, again, Fountain Square, if you're familiar with Indianapolis, is a little bit on the southeast side of town, just probably within 5-10 minutes of downtown. Art kind of very similar to the Short North. That is kind of growing, lots of local artists, restaurants, and it's going vertical. So we've partnered with a local developer over there. Given our experience that we've had here, we were able to put these things into play. So we got 193 apartments, 215 space, a parking garage, a little bit of public art. So here's a couple of the images here. So really excited to be part of these things. And when I started 22 years ago, it was like we're all about finding as many restaurant locations as we could. And now at my last 9 years of the company, this is all I've done. So it's been a lot of fun. So here's a couple of views. So that's all I have, but thank you. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Brian, when we moved back to Columbus in 1993, I would drive by the old White Castle, and growing up in Toledo, I remember the old White Castles there. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine White Castle could totally become more of a real estate company, as well as maintaining their, hamburger status, if you will. What one thing, and what year was it, where that transition happened, the turnabout?
The question was, what year did we kind of transition or shift the mindset from just a restaurant company to also doing some real estate development? I would say it's probably around 2010. We started to think about seeing some of the value that we had in our real estate and started thinking, what can we do? We didn't really get serious until probably 2012. There was a lot of buy-in, still privately held and family-owned company. And so we had to kind of get them on board with some of these restaurants been a long time. They've performed very well. They're producing, good financial returns. So we had to show them how that could potentially work. And a lot of it was really the markets. So around 2010 to 15 is when we started to change our distribution network. And it was probably 2015-ish is when we started to shift third-party manufacturing for our fixtures within our restaurants because we were slowing down. So probably around then is when that happened. So we're pretty excited about where we landed on a lot of these things. So, but that's a very good question. Did you give you a good enough answer?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There's always a risk when a company changes focus, like GE did it and Sears. They both became financial companies first, and they wrecked their base product. Are you going to make sure that you don't wreck your base product and you're still a food company?
Well, that's a good question. If I'll paraphrase, how can we maintain our status as a world-class brand and not mess up our core business of restaurants by becoming real estate developers? Well, we are a restaurant company as our day job, right? So our main focus is creating memorable moments every day for our customers, and we couldn't do what we're doing here without our baseline operations in the field. So our core focus today is that, and the only thing we're doing these on is we're just simply taking advantage of these. There's really limited opportunities that we can do this. Not every White Castle restaurant spot can go vertical with an apartment, but that is our core business as our restaurants. And as we made it through the pandemic because of that team, and we're eternally grateful to them. So hope that's helpful. The gentleman in the back, and then I'll get you.
Back in the day, you guys manufactured all your own stainless steel, and out of that came fireplace inserts and stainless steel lawn spreaders. Are you still doing any of that?
No. So back, the question or the comment was that back in the day we were doing. Are we continuing to work with Scott's Lawn and manufacture our own stainless steel within our buildings or within any building to support our operations? The answer to that is no. We've outsourced our stainless steel manufacturing to another firm. I believe they're out of Dayton. And then we sold off the business, the powder coating business, to somebody else. So really our core focus right now is our restaurants, and this is just these development opportunities were just ways that we can add additional long-stream income for the company. Gentleman right here.
Last week I heard a presentation by an innovation expert, and he cited White Castle as a world leader in the automation of food preparation. Can you comment on that?
I can. So the comment was about White Castle as a leader in innovation and automation within the industry, within the restaurant industry and elsewhere. So that I can say is very true. Our frozen food division was an idea created out of necessity because some loyal cravers in Arizona constantly wanted White Castle shipped out to one of the big ones, Fountain Hills. And every year they'd do a big event and we'd ship hundreds and thousands of White Castles to frozen. So Bill Ingram, our former president, chairman, and CEO, he had the idea, so well, why don't we go ahead and see if we can create this product and freeze it and be able to mass distribute it. And that was actually founded on our Fifth Avenue location. So back inside that building that was created, our first frozen food plant was basically in that building. And now we have frozen food manufacturing divisions in multiple locations. We're finishing up an expansion right now to add 2 more lines in our Vandalia plant. So we're really excited about that. And I will say that we're in automation with AI with regards to we have an AI, artificial intelligence, order station in operation that we're developing in several of our restaurants. And we also have Flippy, which is a robot that helps in what we call the Beast, which is the fryer line. So Flippy is actually going to be implemented in multiple units across the country, and we actually signed a long-term agreement with Miso Robotics to do over 100 Flippies within our restaurants. So yes, as we are an innovator. Yes, sir.
The Slider Queen's husband was just honored as Businessman of the Year in Dublin, and yet there is no White Castle in Dublin or Powell. Any answer to that?
Yes. We've actually looked around there. So the question was for the audience at home was, why isn't there a White Castle in Dublin or Powell? So a lot of it has to do with timing. So right now our areas of focus are within Arizona and Florida, and no, we're not adding any new units around Columbus at this time. But we have looked over there in the past. We're doing more research as we go, but I never say never. But there are a lot of my friends that live in those areas that recommend us. So, yes, ma'am.
I had the opportunity, Aaron Sharon gave me a tour of the building, and did I get this right, that anyone can go to the cafe? Any outside people can go to the cafe?
Yes, they could. Yeah, they could go into the cafe, and it's certainly, we don't broadcast. We don't necessarily broadcast that to everybody, but you could. We don't market it as. So now we did. So, but it's mainly reserved for our residents and tenants. But if somebody came in, they wanted to see the castle and pay homage to the brand, we open our doors, right? So if Jamie Richardson's presented here in the past, and he has a team that does that, we're happy to share what we've done. Our campus is open. Our residents can come over, our tenants over in OB2 can come over, and we're very proud of it. And if somebody came off the street and said, "Can I get a double cheese with no pickles and no onions?" we'll do it for them. So, yes, sir.
Yes, so do I understand correctly that White Castle actually owns the properties for all the stores?
Own or lease them, yeah. We control all our properties. We're privately held, and we own our own buildings, and so we self-develop. So a lot of times we won't do build-to-suits or anything like that for our restaurants.
Is there any intention or plans to go global with the brand?
Not at this time. So still locally held and privately held, and they're very protective of the brand. And which is good. So when you grow too big too fast is when you lose the quality, and we're really protective of that. So a lot of our burgers are made fresh as to order, right? Our breakfast sandwiches are fresh cracked egg on our buns and toast. And if you scale it and go global, you lose that quality. And we're very protective of that. And we're very protective of who makes our memorable moments. So it's that's what we do every day. And this for me is a memorable moment speaking in front of you guys. So I greatly appreciate it. I was a little nervous when Lisa told me, offered me the opportunity. I was like, oh boy. And but it was good. It's fun to talk about what I've been doing the last 10 years. It makes it really easy and a great audience. So I appreciate you guys. Any other questions? One more?
Any idea what made Orlando such a great success?
It was a great real estate buy. So the question was, so no, it was interesting. The funny story about that is that when we first looked, I looked at Orlando for 5 years by the time that castle was open. And we were very selective. We wanted to make sure we were near a location that could get a lot of people, right? So we wanted to create a destination for the folks to pay homage to the brand. And we knew it would be successful based on what happened with Scottsdale, because if you build it, they will come. And but we have good access. We have really good. We had a great partner. There's a lot of things happening in the area, but that location was a former cow pasture. And I met on site with Lisa Ingram, 3 years ago, and she looked at me and thought I was crazy because there was actually a cow right in front of us. And she said, are you sure? And I said, yep, there's going to be a new interchange right here, right off I-4. We're right north of Disney, easy to get to. Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. And so far we are. So, but thank you all very much.
So much, everybody, for your time today. We will see you next week. Don't forget to, buy your ticket for the art auction or just bid on something. Great. Have a great day. See you next week.